Good morning, everybody. We are live from the shortcut this rainy Finnish morning. Thank you, everyone who joins. Let's wait a couple of minutes till everyone finds us. And yeah, the awkward weather chat is what we're doing while we're waiting. How is your morning, Erica?
It's good. It is dark and gray and depressing, but that's a standard, so better get used to it.
Yeah, I feel like there's like certain coziness in this weather. Like, okay, summer is over. We have to put on the raincoats and also
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean, I
darkness.
love fall, but I don't love November.
Yeah, November. Yeah, well, we're still in October, so yeah. But
Yeah.
I see people are joining us, and let's start little by little. I'm going to introduce our event today and the speaker. So we are the shortcut for those who are joining for the first time. The shortcut is the place for meaningful professional integration in Finland. So we strive to help people with their career transformation, be it finding a meaningful job or starting their own business. And we are a sister company to Maria01/Junction and Wave Ventures, owned by Startup Foundation. We're a nonprofit organization dedicating to helping our community finding their purpose. And today our guest is Erica Terranova, and we're going to be talking about cover letters. Good morning, Erica.
Good morning. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, good to have you with us. So this online breakfast. It's a series of questions from me, and then at the end we're going to take some questions from the chat. So please put them in the chat, and I will address those later. But let's give floor to Erica. Erica, please tell us about yourself and what you're doing currently, and why this topic is close to your
Yes.
heart.
So, yes, I'm a digital marketing professional and I've been working in Finland for quite a few years. And currently, I am the growth marketing lead at Moomins. So I take care of everything that is related to marketing and analytics for Moomins, and it has been an incredible opportunity. So I prove that you can do it, and even if I don't speak Finnish that well or at all at work, really, but I still managed to get a job in one of the most, if not the most iconic Finnish brand. And I'm extremely passionate about helping other foreigners figure out their professional journey in Finland, especially because I went through it myself and I actually made a ton of mistakes. And I think if I can share my knowledge and help others, because I've been both in the position of a job seeker and in the position of a hiring manager, so I have quite a lot of input at this point about what you should do and what is the best way to do things and what is the not so good way to do things. And when it comes to cover letters, I think this is one of the most important things that 90% of people get wrong. So I used to get, tons of applications, and basically almost every cover letter was really, really bad. And I know that the problem is not because people want to do a bad job, it's just nobody teaches you how a cover letter is supposed to be. And, so without any kind of guidance, then you end up with something that is not of any help. And instead, if you write a good cover letter, it can really, really help, especially when you're applying for jobs for which you don't have all the skills listed, or they are asking for Finnish and you don't have like great Finnish skills. Like, it is one of the most important tools that a job seeker has. So I'm really excited today to talk with you about cover letters, share some of my knowledge, share some of the mistakes I've made, I've seen, and hopefully help you in your path. And thank you so much to Ekaterina and the Shortcut for these amazing events and the contribution to professional life in Finland.
Yes, thank you, Erica, for introduction. So we have a series of these online breakfasts, and we were talking already this fall about networking and about CVs. So this is kind of a next step, the cover letter. And when we posted about this topic, that we're going to have an event on this topic, some people were asking, like, even were asking if it's still necessary, the cover letter, and what is the goal of it. So a few words about that, like why it still matters, and what is the main goal of the cover letter for
Yeah.
those who doubt.
So yeah, so I mean, it is absolutely true that in some cases you are not required to send a cover letter, but my opinion is that if you have the possibility to send a cover letter, always do it, because it's another way to strengthen your application. Of course, if you're just sending the basic cover letter, and we're going to talk about the things that you should avoid doing, then better not. But if you write a strong cover letter, it is an extra way to strengthen your application, especially because if you do the cover letter right, it's not about just repeating what's on your CV and just repeating the same information, or just making a very basic, I want this job, please give me this job. But it's actually about showing how you as a person and as a professional can contribute to a company mission, and how will you solve the problems that the company has. And this is way easier to do it, obviously, in a longer piece of writing than in just a CV. Of course, I want to say, if you work in tech, you are a software engineer, or you have a very specialized skill set, you are a data scientist or whatever, of course, the cover letter, probably you are not going to need it, let's be honest, because the demand is so much higher than the offer, and what people are looking at is just the CV, and especially your LinkedIn profile. So there are cases in which you don't need a cover letter, but I would say for the mass majority of people in Finland, it's going to help you a lot. And let's say that you are an international job seeker, for example, from outside Finland, and you want to convince a company to sponsor your visa. I would say even for tech positions, it would be a good idea to also explain why you are applying, even if you are in another country, etc., etc. So I personally believe that like a cover letter can be even more important than your CV in some cases, because there is you can explain a lot of things about, okay, maybe you can explain why you're changing careers, you can explain some skills that are not in your CVs but you actually acquired in some other ways. You can explain why you're applying for a job in Finland. You can explain why your specific skills are such a fit, even if maybe you are missing a certification or experience with a specific tool that they are acquiring. So it's extremely important, and I would say whenever you have a possibility, do send one.
Right. So now that we have no doubt about that this is necessary, actually before this, I was just recently talking to someone who's a hiring manager, and I brought this up, and she said, "Yeah, I don't even read the application if there's no cover letter." So yes, cover letters matter. So now that we established that, so how to stand out in the cover letter? Because we have been talking previously with Pipsa Aro a couple of breakfasts ago about CVs, and we were saying about that already you can, for example, show your motivation already in the CV or your connection to the job. But how to stand out in the cover letter? Like what is the difference between showing this on your CV and on the cover letter?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, the thing that you have to understand about the cover letter is what it is not. So as I was saying, if you just use it to repeat what it's on your CV, it's completely useless. If you just use it as a chance to say how awesome you are, it is completely useless because nobody cares. But if you thoroughly research and understand the company, so you understand what the company does, you understand the product, you understand what problem they are trying to solve with their product, and you understand which needs they have with the applications that they are adding, then you can write a compelling cover letter. So my main point is always think about what the company needs and not about you. Nobody cares about you. Like this was a mistake I used to make a lot. So just thinking like, oh, I'm so awesome. Like, why is nobody, contacting me? It's like, because nobody cares. Like, of course, what they care about is, okay, I have this problem that I'm trying to get solved with the job that I'm trying to open. Is because I have a problem that I need solving, and you have to show me how you are the best person to solve that problem. And when it comes to make it stand out, I'm definitely not a fan of gimmicks. Like, I've got really, really bad cover letters where they try to be funny or things like that. I remember one case in which somebody sent a cover letter saying like, oh, I'm giving you 3 facts about myself. Just read until the end to find out which one is true. And they were all really bad. They were like, first of all, I was annoyed at this gimmick, but even if I was like, okay, the 3 facts were like, one was like doing something illegal and stuff, like they were not good examples of judgment. Let's put it this way. And I was like, how do you think this is going to strengthen your application? I don't care about any of that. I only care, can you solve my problem that I'm having, that I want somebody to solve? So I'm 100% against gimmicks and these kind of things. Do I think that sometimes if you are, like, for example, you are applying for a social media marketing role, or you're applying for a videographer role and you want to show your skills in the cover letter, for example, by doing a video, absolutely, that makes sense, because the skill that I'm requiring, you're showing me your skill just already in making the video, the editing, or maybe if you're doing like social media posts as a way to do your cover letter, for that job makes sense. But for most of the jobs, I think, it's best to stay away from the gimmicks unless you have a very specific idea in mind and you really believe it's going to strengthen your application. So just don't just do things for being different. One thing that you can do that is very easy to do is, for example, if you're applying for a company, you can check once you have the research the company and everything. It's a very easy visual thing to, for example, use their colors in the application. That is like not their logo, because their logo is not yours to use, but like the colors you can use. So, or even the font or something like this. So something small like that, it's fine. But the strength of the cover letter must be in the writing. So don't lose yourself doing like weird stuff. And because most people write terrible cover letters, if your cover letter is good, you're going to stand out. Like, it doesn't need to have flourishes or stuff like that. Just you're going to stand out just by writing a good cover letter. And when we are talking about what makes a good cover letter, in my opinion, it needs to answer 4 questions. So the first one is who you are. So I need to understand when I'm writing this cover letter, who you are as a professional, as a person also. But, there might be some things that are important in a way for the job that they cannot be put in your CV. Like, for example, you have lived in many different countries, so you have cultural understanding of different cultures. Let's say you studied things on your own that are maybe not exactly relevant for the job, but they show that you can learn things quickly, that you can, get complex things on your own, or you volunteer for some organization that shows, for example, team leading skills and things like that. Because the main thing is that you don't want to tell how awesome you are, but you want to show how good you are by actually giving practical examples. So these are like all things that can be in the who am I part of the cover letter. Then you should answer the question, why am I applying for this job? So the why is extremely important. If you're not researching the company, if you're just sending a copy-paste cover letter to everybody, you are not going to be able to answer this question. But you should have a very strong case of why this job, why this company. And to do that, you have to understand the job, the company, the product, the problem, everything. So you need to do your research. It's not, if you just, it's just like, I need the job, is not a compelling argument,
Right.
But if it's like, oh, I've been researching, I've been following your CEO for many years because I really love X, Y, and Z. And I think this product, I've actually used this product, and I think that like this, and this. And I believe that I could be of help in X, Y, and Z. And like really showing that you really are committed and passionate. And passion and commitment is a great way to solve maybe a skill gap, or like being a foreigner and being a little bit of a disadvantage. If you are extremely committed and passionate, without being creepy, please do not stalk hiring managers. But if you just show your passion and commitment in your cover letter, it's a huge bonus point. Then you should think about what can you offer. So here I really want to understand, like in a couple of sentences, what is your value proposition? What is the most important things that you can bring to this job, to this company? How are you going to solve my problem? Here, I really want to understand all your top skills that are related to the job and the company and the problem that we are trying to solve. And then finally, why should I hire you? So you should also have a final compelling argument explaining why you are such a good person to fit to this company and solve their problem. And if you answer these 4 questions, then you don't need any kind of crazy stuff. And
Right. So I know that you have some slides, and I think there's like 4 things. If you have it somewhere on the slides, it would be good to like put it visually also, because it's difficult to remember.
I
Let's see
will.
if we can
Oh,
share.
wait, sorry. I clicked the wrong one. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now, right?
Yeah. There we are.
Okay. So we were talking about always including the cover letter, and now it is your best selling point because 95% of cover letters suck. So you can stand out just by making a good one. And we were talked about the changing your perspective. So from I need a job to you need a solution. So just do few applications for the jobs you can really excel at, and don't be generic, but actually be specific about which solutions you are going to be able to offer for the problem the company has. And yeah, we talked about this one. We haven't talked about it yet, so we are going to talk, but we talked about being crystal clear about what you want to do and how it fits with the company goals, values, and product. And these we are going to discuss them later in terms of practical tips. But these are like the 4 things I was talking about. So the introduction, tell me like the most important things about you. This needs to be relevant to the job, like, right? Like, I don't care about, I don't know, your dog, as cute as it can be. Like, it needs to be tied up to your professional skills and what you can offer to the company. Then identify your motivation and how this job fits into your professional growth. This is very important. If you're just sending generic spam applications and you don't have a clear idea about why this specific job, you're just gonna more likely go into the no pile. Then how you personally can excel at solving the specific problems the company has. And this is an important aspect with data. So I'm a big fan of using data and numbers in your both in the CV and cover letter. And by saying that, what I mean is if you're telling me you are good at something, it's you need to prove it to me with some data. So for example, if I'm applying for a B2B marketing role and I have experience in lead acquisition, I want to know what is your lead acquisition goal. And for example, I would say, okay, exceeded the yearly lead acquisition goal by X%, or delivered 300 marketing qualified leads per quarter to the sales team. Like, you have to quantify what you're saying, because otherwise it's just words, right? You can be like, I am the most amazing everywhere. I'm like, okay, how should I believe you? Just give me some data that we can actually, it's actually going to be much more impressive. And then finally, why you and your skills are the perfect fit for the company problem. I think these are like the 4 things that are very important to remember. And we talked about what is the kiss of death. So basically, what makes your cover letter really bad: when you repeat what it's on your CV, when you don't convey any new information, it's just generic, bland, boring, doesn't tell me anything new. Then the me application, which are all about you and how awesome you are and why my company should be so lucky to have you. And no, just focus on the company and their problem. Shift your perspective from yourself to the company. And then when it's clear that you've done no research about the company. In this case, I can say so many cover letters I got were like, with the wrong company name, or like they clearly had no clue about what the company does, or saying, oh, you do B2B and instead we do B2C. Like, so many of these where it was super clear that, there is no interest, there is no commitment, there is no passion for the job because you didn't even bother to go on the website and read the about section. So that is a clear sign that you're just spamming application and it's just not going to work. And yeah, these are like some other things to keep in mind. An issue that I've seen, especially from people applying from abroad, is that they use extremely formal language, like, dear sir and madam, and like mentioning God in the cover letter. Like, no, like in Finland, you have to be quite informal. Like, I usually start with my cover letter with hello and like the name of the person or something like that. But just do not go too formal. It's not a thing to be done in Finland. Or even using language like I kindly request that you this kind of extremely formal language is not a thing. And then I'm very happy that you already had a discussion about networking. So I'm just going to be brief. Remember, you have to network, and that means helping others and offering actual value, not just trying to take from others. So you can be creative, but no stunts, as I was saying. The focus should be on the company problems and not on crazy, weird things. And then tailor your application. So only apply for the jobs you would be a strong candidate for. Do not send 10,000 applications that are like copy paste. I would say these are like the most important things.
Yes, and thank you for sharing slides, because I think sometimes it's good to also put
True.
it visually. Yeah, and also I like that you gave these practical tips about how to start cover letter, because I think it's with every writing, I think sometimes the most difficult is how to start, and then you kind of a little bit find your way through it. Yeah, I know that you, Erica, have been doing some work on LinkedIn for the community when you were checking CVs and cover letters, and I wanted to ask you, because I think I also at some point I sent you mine several years ago. So this was very interesting for me, and I wanted to ask you, like, what are some maybe stories that you have seen about cover letters, like good or bad?
So I have to say that, like, from the people that I've gave advice to, quite a few of them have come back to me and be like, "Oh, thank you so much. This actually has helped," because I know that, like, a lot of times the advice that you get is not really practical, and instead, what I did was basically do extremely like practical, tailored to your specific thing, explaining how you should frame things. It's really also a matter of framing. But when it comes to cover letter stories, I think I've seen so much on both spectrums. So unfortunately, most of them are really bad, and a lot of them are bad not because people are not trying, but because they don't understand what the cover letter is for. So you really have to think that you are marketing yourself, and you have to take it as an opportunity to do the best, in a way, marketing presentation of yourself that you can be, while obviously being still truthful and authentic and honest and everything. But when a lot of them just tend to be really basic and boring and not tell me anything. So I read, thousands of cover letters, and I like, you read it and you're like, maybe you're checking the CV of like 10 people, and after that I'm like, I don't remember who is what at all, and the only ones that stand out were the ones that actually wrote a thoughtful cover letter. And I would say the good ones were the ones where there was effort put into understanding what the company does and why they cared about what the company does. That is always good, because it shows me like, okay, you actually spent some time researching this, you actually spent some time doing your research, and you actually have some interest. Because you have to think from the company point of view. It's not so interesting to read like tons of applications that are all the same, and this is very true, especially for young graduates, because obviously they don't have that much experience, and they just send you with copy paste CVs and cover letter. They're all the same. They don't give much information, and you're like, why should I pick one over the other, right? So they really miss out on the opportunity to make an impression. And I always am a big fan of thinking, if you can deliver extra value, you should. I know it's not possible for every single job, but for example, for marketing jobs, if you really want a job, like, in your cover letter, not only send me a cover letter, send me a marketing plan. Send me suggestions of things you think we should do differently. Send me a SEO analysis of the website. Find some broken links that I can fix. Like, actually put the effort in showing me, oh, I know what I'm talking about, and this is what I can deliver for your company as extra value. Obviously, on the other side, don't be arrogant and be like, oh, everything you do sucks, so just you should do it this way, because you don't know the context. So there might be very good reasons why things are done in a certain way. But any kind of proactive offering value and being proactive is always a very good thing. And I remember crazy cover letters from, one was just like the sentence, I need the job.
Brutal honesty.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, but that's not how you get a job. Then I had cover letters that were like basically saying like, oh, you should be so lucky to have me. I'm like this amazing person and done all of these insane things, and like coming off very boastful and arrogant. And we still try to go to have an phone interview with this person, and just was not a good one. But just in general, it's not a good strategy. Like, your accomplishments should speak for themselves. There is no need to be like,
Yeah.
like, I remember somebody was like, oh, I never bother to write cover letters because I'm just too good. Like, so you should just hire me without bothering me, or something like that. And I was like, really? not
Yeah.
really. And this is the thing that is always kind of problematic to me, is especially in marketing, when people don't write good cover letter. I'm like, that is your job, and you're not capable of writing a good cover letter. How are you convincing me that you are good at marketing if you cannot market even yourself? That's always kind of a red flag. Yeah, and then I also got a lot of people like sending videos, video cover letters when they weren't required, which was like, it's fine, but just remember, if you're sending a video cover letter, it should be well done, and it should be quick. Like, don't send me a 20 minutes video.
Yeah.
Or but that's not the best. And then, a lot of mistakes, as I was saying, like lots of people saying, dear person at X company, and I'm like, we are not X company. Or or like sending the same cover letter. We apply for different jobs in the company and send the same cover letter for everything, and I'm like,
That's
that
just
does not
lazy.
show me
Yeah.
are committed to this role or this company, or completely misunderstanding what the company does. Which is like, okay, so like, it's okay. Obviously, I'm not saying that you have to understand everything, because it's probably not realistic, but have a general idea of what's actually is required and what the company actually does. If you don't understand that at all, is a huge problem. And then also people that don't understand what the job is. So they talk about the job in the cover letter in a way that shows to you that they have no clue about what is actually required from the job. And sometimes that might be the fault of the job ad, but realistically, it's also kind of a problem if you show that you have no clear indication of what the job is required to do. And finally, people, they think it's about what they need and what they want to do and their desires. And I'm like, unless you are like, mega high level software engineer in which you can do that type of stuff, it is not really a good look.
Right. Yeah. I recently one of our online breakfast speakers, Larry Newman, and he said that we had this quote by him that don't start by convincing the employer to hire you, start by convincing him to have a conversation with you.
Yeah,
and I think cover letter does that in a way. It's like it's the beginning of a conversation. It's just on paper, and it's a conversation that you look at it and you're like, okay, I want to have I want to continue this conversation with this person.
Absolutely. I think that's very true, and that's why it's so important to write it as, from that point of view, rather than just not being clear about what the cover letter is about and what should be there. And I would rather have, like, that's another thing. Usually this is very common for young graduates. There just is not enough information. They don't have enough information on their CV about what they do. It's just like, university, like, BA in business administration, and maybe one job with no description of accomplishments, and any kind of skills or accomplishments. So it's so basic, and they are like also similar to each other, that I'm like, how are you gonna compete? Especially, how are you gonna compete with like native speakers that they maybe already have professional experience when you're not writing a compelling case? So it's really about making a case for why we should talk with you. And it's such a good opportunity that it's really a pity if you just miss out on it because you're like, oh, I'm not even bothering with the cover letter, or I'm just sending this super basic cover letter.
Yeah. And also, I think if you don't have things to say that you already have done, you can say things that you would like to do in this company, and like show, like there's a person behind the application, like show the person, right?
Exactly. And also it's very important that you, for example, in the cover letter, you can talk about the things that you're studying, the skills that you are acquiring. So let's say you're like, maybe you don't have that much professional experience, but you can talk, okay, I've been taking this class on, I don't know, marketing automation, and I've been playing with these tools. I've been actually building some small coding projects. So I think I would be able to help you with like CSS and JavaScript for A/B testing on your site. Like showing also the interest and desire to learn new things and the ability to learn new things, because that's so important on many jobs. Like you just have to learn things quickly. So if you show me that by talking about which projects you have been doing, and also showing me, your desire and commitment to do new things. So it's totally fine to talk about your volunteering experience and what you've learned from that. It's totally fine to talk about how something that seems unrelated to the job actually has taught you some skills that would be interesting. This is like the space in the cover letter to do all of these things. And when, for example, you're changing career. So I changed career from academia to marketing. So I had to find a way to framing the skills that I acquired in academia for marketing to get my first jobs, right? So, and that was something that it was very important to have it in the cover letter. So explaining why, because that's another, this is a very good point as well. Like very often you get applications from people that have no experience or very little experience related to the thing that the job is requiring. So maybe they have studied something, but then they've done completely different things, and now they're applying for a job in a field where they haven't been working for a long time. And why should anybody want to talk to you unless you explain to them why you're trying? Because otherwise the idea would be like, okay, so this person does not really want to do, I don't know, sales, but because they have, I don't know, 5 years experience in another sector. So why are they applying for a sales job? And if you don't explain it to me in the cover letter, it's less likely that I'm going to talk with you. But instead, you can make a very good case. And like, hey, so I've been doing this thing for 5 years, blah, blah, but I actually now realize that what I want to develop in is sales. So I'm trying to get back to sales and to upskill, to make sure that my skills are fresh. I've taken this and this course. I'm doing this and this project. I started my own, my own business on the side. Like, so you can show and you can tell me all of these things in the cover letter. So then you can make a much more compelling case of why you are applying for this job, even if you don't have the experience for it, or your career path has been going into another direction. Because for many jobs, there is so much competition. Like, I used to get seriously, I don't know, 60 applications for one position. And there was a smaller company even, so not that big. So in order to stand out, in order to make sure that like you get a shot, you really have to explain to me in the cover letter like everything that you can offer, and maybe why even you are applying for something that is not directly related to your career. Maybe you're changing career, maybe you have seen, okay, in this field there is not really a job. But if you're just trying to be very generic and applying to everything, that is not going to work, because any hiring manager would look at that and be like, yeah, I don't see this compelling case. This person really wants to do, I don't know, office management or administration or whatever, because it's clear from their career path that they were doing something else. So if you don't explain to me in the cover letter, why should I give you a chance?
Yeah, this is very, very good points, because we do have in our community, we do have a lot of career changers, because many people in our community have moved to Finland with already some baggage and some experience, and can't find the job in line with their experience. So this is very valuable. It's like, so cover letter is like a bridge between what you have done before and what you have studied and what you would like to do now. So that's that's exactly why I think cover letter can be not like a boring,
if you're trying to change if you're trying to change career without a good cover letter, it's gonna be extremely hard to sell.
So we have some questions in the chat. I'm going to show them on the screen. So JK is asking, we a little bit touched on that, but still, how would you usually address someone on a cover letter? For example,
just with the name.
Just the name.
Yes, like it makes no, like in Finland is not really a thing to use like this more formal title. So I would just go with the name, and if you can find the name of the hiring manager, or at least, and if you don't know it, then I understand that you might, like for a big company, it might be like I would say instead of like dear hiring manager, it could be dear team at company, blah blah. But yeah, keep it. Don't go formal because it's not really a thing.
To whom it may apply, and then not a
No,
thing.
no.
Yeah.
To whom it may concern, no, let's just don't. If
Yeah.
possible, it's better to give it informal. I'm sure there are like some fields that are, more formal in that sense, but on a general note, it's usually better to go with the informal.
Okay, next, Cici is asking how to approach an open application cover letter if I can't know what problem they have. That's
That's
very
a very good
interesting.
question. Yeah. So when you're sending an open application, it's because it must be because you really, really like the company and you really like the work that they do. So it's not true like you don't know what problem they have, because at that point you should know the company really well, should know the product very well, and you should know the problem they're trying to solve with the product very well. So the open application, the cover letter there can be really about what you know about this company and why you want to contribute to their mission, and what do you think you can offer to contribute to their mission. So it doesn't have obviously specific in that sense, but it can be specific to what the company does and why you are interested in what the company does. So I would really think from that perspective of, why do you like this company, and like show me why.
Yeah. Okay, we don't have more questions in the chat so far, but I think the main question I wanted to ask you about this topic, from my point, is like what is it that will bring you to interview? How can you ensure with your cover letter that you get an interview?
Well, you cannot ensure, because the reality is that there might just be a lot of people applying and they just have more skills than you. They might have a better application than you, and that just, there is no guarantee in the in this. But what you can do is improve your chances to a maximum. And in that sense, I would say once you have done this work of like finding the right template for the cover letter and CV, go try to connect with people on LinkedIn that work in your field and ask if they could give it a read and give you some advice. Because of course, the people that work in that field know the specific rules for that field. So what I'm saying applies to a lot of jobs. It does not apply to all of jobs, right? So it's always best to get advice from somebody that is working specifically in your field. So my suggestion is first you have to do the work on yourself. Like you cannot just go with like some half-assed attempt and ask for advice. But once you have, like, you feel that like you have really got everything that you wanted to have in there, you feel it's very strong and everything, then try to ask on LinkedIn with people that are doing the job that you would like to do, maybe in 5 years, and be like, hey, could you take a look at my application? Just give me some feedback. That would be super, super helpful. And I'm sure lots of people would be willing to do that. But first, please put in the work to actually work on your CV and cover letter until you feel it is really, really good. And one advice that I forgot to give was also, I'm a big fan of askamanager.com. It's an American blog that they post every day about work-related questions, and she has so much amazing information about CV and cover letters. Like such good information. And if you go on the askamanager.com and you look into the search bar for like cover letter, you will find this kind of post with all the resources about how to write a good cover letter. There are examples of good cover letters. Of course, this is American perspective, but I feel a lot of that advice is very, very valuable, and it has helped me a lot. So if you want to see good examples of what a good cover letter looks like, and you want to have, additional advice to write your own, then try Ask a Manager.
Yes, we will post later all the links that we mentioned. Meanwhile, I have more questions. So Cici again, Cici is asking, can you elaborate more on how did you explain your motivation to change from academia to another sector? My last application actually was great. Thanks to all webinars from the shortcut. Thank you. Thank you for the shout out. Hiring manager gave me great feedback. However, I didn't get even an interview because I was missing corporate experience. My experience was too close to academia only.
Yeah, I can completely understand. So there are two factors of this. So first of all, even when I was doing my PhD, I was volunteering for this no-profit organization for 3 years. So I developed skills into another field while I was doing my PhD. If you are only doing academia, you really had to start by doing something else, even if it's volunteering, to show those other skills. So I was doing this event organization and social media marketing and all of these type of things for 3 years. So I had some experience already when I started applying for jobs. That was number one. Second one, I started from scratch. So I actually did internships here in Finland because it's important to have like finished work experience in Finland. So I did unpaid internships. I did various type of internships just to acquire more skills and have them in my CV to kind of show, okay, this how committed I am to changing careers and all the skills that I'm developing. And then I applied for entry-level jobs to move from academia to marketing. So I didn't immediately start to go to the highest levels, but I started with entry level, and I started actually getting interviews quite quickly at that point. And then it was just a matter of time before I got my first full-time, permanent position and everything like that. So in this case, I would really recommend, if you don't have, I don't know which companies you're applying to. So if it's big corporations, I'm not saying it's impossible, nothing is impossible, but it might be a bit harder. So I personally did the route of like volunteering, internships, upskilling on my own, and then a smaller company startups. And that's how I got in. And then from there, it has just been so much easier to move forward. But I think otherwise it's gonna be, if you only can show academic experience, it's really hard to make the case.
Right. Yeah, I think it's quite common also in Finland. People come to study and then it's difficult to find a job. So
Yeah.
that's so people continue studying and then it's difficult to enter the job market. And we have experiences like this in the community also. But yeah, from my side, I would say that if there's, let's say, in many companies there's already link with universities, like you can research if if the company you're applying for has been working with universities, for example, and you can like try that angle. And if not, then you can point it out that it's important to leverage the academia knowledge for work and how.
Yeah, but I completely understand that it's not an easy sell. I can tell you
It's
that.
not.
But
Yeah.
But once you it's really about having enough skills on the side, because once you are in, then your skills that you already have from academia are gonna make it very easy to just move forward. But it's just getting your first foot into the door. And Ceci, if you want, you can also contact me on LinkedIn, and we can talk about it a little bit also offline, just to if you need some more advice with that. But I understand that it's not easy, but it can be done. And a lot of it is also really a matter of luck and applying to the right company at the right time. In my experience, startups are also way more likely to give you a job, even if you don't have maybe the finished work experience that a lot of other companies are looking. But it also depends on the field, because of course I know, like in STEM is a little bit different. I came from humanities, so a little bit different field. One other thing that we didn't really talk about is I also would recommend that you use Grammarly, which is an add-on that you can use. You can add on your browser. That is grammar check and language check, because a lot of times you also get really weird grammar and language on cover letters, and obviously not for all jobs it matters. Of course, if you are hiring an engineer, something might not be the most important thing. But even for marketing jobs, I used to get really badly written cover letters, which is a problem for marketing or even for sales, So make sure that like your cover letter is grammatically correct as much as possible. And here I'm talking about English applications. For Finnish, I don't really know how it is because I've never worked with Finnish applications, but at least for English ones. There are lots, there are free tools, so just use them and make sure that your cover letter is grammatically correct as well. Yeah, and I would say like the most important thing is really to think about who you are and what you want to do and what you can offer. I feel a lot of the times the main issue is that there is not clarity on this topic. So a lot of the people, a lot of international job seekers that I work with, they tell me like, oh, I can do everything. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like you have to be very specific.
Right.
You have to develop kind of a specific career path. You have to be extremely clear about what you can offer, what you can contribute, what skills you have, what do you want to do. And if you try to be generic and just apply to everything, in Finland, it does not work. Because it's a much smaller job market. For international people, it's so much harder. So you really have to be specific, and you have to invest into whatever career path you want to have in a very practical way. So I'm also a big fan of developing your portfolio for the professions where this is a big help. Like do not just wait and be like, oh, my CV should be strong enough to give me a job, because that does not happen. Like create your own portfolio, start your own blog, start your own YouTube channel, whatever it is, just show me your commitment or your skills through the things that you are actually doing, and not just by saying to me, oh, but I'm so good at this. I'm like, it's not really relevant. But if you can show me how good you are through different things, then that is also really helpful. And also, remember what skills are required for each job. So for example, for a sales job, it might make perfect sense it might make more sense to, for example, call, because a lot of sales, you have to be also good with the phone and calls and stuff. So maybe for a sales job, it makes sense that you try to call the hiring manager and try to sell yourself on the phone. Or it might even be that like you send kind of, a sales email.
Yeah.
To show your CV and cover letter. So like showing your skills in every way possible. And if it's marketing, then you could show me, your marketing plan for the company, or your portfolio, or things like that. And if it's graphic design, maybe you can make a really beautiful looking CV and cover letter just to show me your skills in action. And so try to think about all the ways that you can use the CV and cover letter to show your skills, with, remembering that the focus must be on your professional skills, and not to go too overboard with like crazy stuff that is not relevant.
Right. Yeah. So we are a little bit already over time. We are don't have any questions anymore. So if maybe there's like one last advice you would give about, like, if you had just one thing to say about cover letters, what would it be?
So send a good one. And what I mean by that, if you send a bad one, it actually might hurt you even. So always send one when you can, but make sure it's good. Otherwise, it's like it might just contribute to be you getting into the no pile because it's bad. So really, really only send good ones, please.
Right. Okay, I think this is it for today. Thank you everyone for joining. So this video is going to be on the Shortcuts Facebook and YouTube, so you can check it also later. And our next online breakfast is going to be 28th of this month, and we're going to be talking about resilience in your career. So stay tuned. Thank you very much, Erica. I have been following Erica's journey on LinkedIn, and I advise you also to do so. Please connect, find Erica, and send her maybe your questions. If she has time, she will answer. We're really pleased to have you here today, and have a nice day, everyone. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.